We'll wait for some time as more people join in, then we'll officially start the session. We recently talked about parasites and their classification. They were classified into protozoa and metazoa. And today we'll be looking at one of the parasites, that is Giardia lamblia. In our last session, we talked about Entamoeba histolytica. Is my voice clear to you guys? And is the visual okay? Tell me in the comments. So let's start talking about Giardia lamblia as more people join in. So that would be a plus for us. Giardia lamblia is a protozoan parasite. As you can see in this picture, it has two nuclei in it, which we can say are like two eyes of this pear-shaped Giardia lamblia. We'll talk about its morphology a bit later in today's video, so stay tuned for that. And if you've got any questions about Giardia or parasitology in general, you can ask me in the comments. So we've received a comment from Franklin Joseph S. I'm sorry if I didn't pronounce it correctly. All okay, ma'am. That's great, thank you. And we've got another comment from Study Hour. Hi, ma'am, how are you? Hello, I'm good, thank you. What about you? Okay, moving forward, we need to talk about Giardia lamblia in a bit more detail. But prior to that, we should know what is actually a protozoan that we are talking about today. Protozoan is a unicellular organism that has no cell wall, and it forms cysts when the conditions are not favorable for its growth. For example, Giardia lamblia. As you can see, it is one-celled organism, and it has got two nuclei in it. It has got flagella around it, and it has got no cell wall, as we cannot clearly see it. And we've discussed in our recent sessions that each parasite has got two names. First one is genus, that always starts with a capital letter, and here in this case that's Giardia, that starts with capital G. And the second one is the species name, and that always starts with a small case letter. Here in this case, that's small l. Is that slide clear to you all? Should I move forward? Or if you have any questions, then I'll answer them. You can write in the comments. Okay, Study Hour is saying good, ma'am, thanks, that's great. Do you have any question about this slide? Like, what is protozoa? I guess nobody has a question, so we move forward to this slide, that is the classification of protozoa based on movement. On the basis of movement, let me zoom in this so you guys can clearly see. Protozoa is further subdivided into sarcodinas, that these are the amoebas. They're also classified into sporozoans, which are sporozoa, then mastigophora, which are flagellates, and then ciliata, which are ciliates. Sarcodina moves with the help of pseudopods, for example, Entamoeba histolytica, and I've put a cute little picture of amoeba there if you can see. And sporozoans are the ones that do not move. They've got no motility apparatus which can help them move. The third one, the mastigophora, are flagellates, which have the flagella that help the flagellates to move, as their name shows, the flagellates. So Giardia lamblia is one of that, and we're talking about it in today's video. The last one, ciliata, they've got cilia around them which help in their movement. Is that slide clear to you all? If you've got any question, feel free to ask. Okay, I'll wait for some time if you guys have any question regarding the classification of protozoa based on movement, so I'll answer your question. Yes, nobody has a question, so let's talk about classification of protozoa based on regions. Regions mean the site of action of protozoa in the human body. So protozoa based on regions are classified into 4 categories. The one that cause infection in the intestine are intestinal protozoa or intestinal parasites. And the ones that cause infection in the urogenital tract, they are called urogenital protozoa or parasites. And then we've got the remaining 2, the tissue ones that are responsible for causing infections in the tissues, and the ones that cause infections in the blood are blood parasites or protozoa. I think that slide was quite easy, but still, if you have any question, you can freely ask me. So now let's officially start the Giardia lamblia. In our recent session, I told you that any parasite that when causes a disease, the disease will always end with 2 words. Sometimes it will be aces and sometimes it will be oces. In case of Giardia, it's giardiasis. So if it ends with aces, we'll recognize this as a parasitic disease. Giardiasis is a diarrhea disease, is a kind of diarrhea which is watery but not bloody and is foul smelling, and it has got certain symptoms. We'll talk about that in clinical finding section, so stay tuned for that. Now let's talk about the characteristics of Giardia lamblia. As we've talked about the classification of protozoa, which are further subclassified based on their site of action into intestinal, into blood, into tissue, and urogenital. So Giardia lamblia belongs to the intestinal protozoan category. The reason is it causes infections in the intestine. It is pear-shaped organism. As you can see in this picture, it looks like a pear. It is flagellated, as you can see these 4 sets of flagella. And this is the trophozoite with 2 nuclei in it, and when the conditions are not favorable, this converts into cysts which contain 4 nuclei. And cysts are resistant to unfavorable environmental conditions like desiccation, hot temperature, nutrition deficiency, or any other kind of severe conditions. Is this slide clear to you all? If you have any questions, please ask in the comments. I'll be more than happy to answer your questions. Okay, I'll wait for some time so you guys can ask any questions about the Giardia lamblia or its characteristics. Okay, we are moving towards the next slide. If you have any questions about the previous slides, you can ask me. Let's talk about the stages of Giardia lamblia. Every parasite has got 2 stages in its life cycle. The first one is trophozoite, that is pear-shaped, that is motile. It has got 2 nuclei in it and 4 flagella, these hair-like structures, and it has a suction disc. This suction disc, it helps the Giardia lamblia to stick to the wall of the intestine, to the mucosa of intestine, where it can easily cause the infection. The site of infection of Giardia is intestine. And the second stage in the life cycle of Giardia lamblia is the cyst. As you can see there, it is oval in shape. It has got a thick wall, the dark pink color around it, that's its wall. And it has got 4 nuclei in it. So when we say 4 nuclei, it means that on encystation, this cyst will give rise to 2 trophozoites, and each trophozoite will have 2 nuclei in it. And these cysts of Giardia lamblia have got certain internal fibers in them. Is that slide clear to you all? Should we start talking about life cycle of Giardia lamblia, as I've introduced you to its 2 life cycle stages, the trophozoite and the cyst. Let's start talking about the life cycle. The life cycle of Giardia lamblia consists of 2 stages. One is trophozoite and the other one is cyst, and it starts with the transmission. When the human ingests the cyst, the cysts then pass down to the intestine, and it encysts in the duodenum into 2 trophozoites. And these trophozoites then form cysts that are passed in feces, and sometimes trophozoites are also passed in feces. in the cases of asymptomatic patients like the carriers. So trophozoites cause infection in the intestine, and they've got certain mechanism for causing the infection, that in pathogenesis section. So now tell me, is this life cycle and introduction of Giardia lamblia clear to you guys, or if you have any questions about that? I think that was easy. It might be clear, but still, if you have any questions, that would be great. I'll be more than happy to answer your questions. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. At the end of this Giardia lamblia session, so if you want to ask questions at the end of the session, that is also very good. Now let's talk about the transmission. Transmission of Giardia lamblia occurs by ingestion of cysts in fecally contaminated food or water, and its route of transmission is fecal-oral route. Only cysts are transmitted, but sometimes trophozoites are also transmitted in the food that is contaminated with the feces of a human that was infected with Giardia lamblia. Maybe not infected, maybe a carrier. Habitat of Giardia lamblia. Humans and animals are its hosts. Is that slide clear to you guys? Or if you have any questions? Now let's talk about the pathogenesis of Giardia lamblia. Trophozoites, when they are present in the intestine, they attach to the wall of the intestine with the help of the suction disc, where they cause inflammation, but they do not invade the mucosa. As I've told you, that excistation takes place in the duodenum, and the cysts give rise to two trophozoites, and these trophozoites then attach to the gut wall because they've got the suction disc, and from there they do not enter the bloodstream. The trophozoites only causes inflammation of the duodenal mucosa that lead to the malabsorption of protein and fat. Is that slide clear to you all? We've got a question from Study Hour. How does the infection typically spread? Well, the infection spreads when somebody eats or consumes food or water contaminated with the feces of human that was infected with the giardiasis, because the feces contain the cysts and trophozoites in it. Now let's move. Okay, tell me if you have any questions about the pathogenesis of Giardia lamblia, or any question in general about parasitology. We'll address all these questions at the end of the session. So now let's talk about the classification of Giardia lamblia. As I told you in the beginning, that Giardia lamblia is responsible for causing that's watery, non-bloody, but foul-smelling diarrhea. So this diarrhea comes with some symptoms, like a person who has diarrhea will definitely feel cramps in the abdomen. So these are called the abdominal cramps. There will be flatulence. The person will feel anorexia. That's when the person do not want to eat something, so that's anorexia. And also there will be nausea present in the case of, in certain cases of giardiasis. Is this slide clear to you all? Okay, moving on to the lab diagnosis. Diagnosis of any parasite is made by looking at the samples. We'll collect the samples from the patients infected with giardiasis, and the samples are stool samples. We'll go for the microscopy, and under microscope we'll find the trophozoites. We'll also find the cysts. Normally we'll find the trophozoites, but in some cases we'll also find this. Normally we'll find the cysts, but in some cases we'll also find the trophozoites. I slipped my tongue, so I'm sorry for that. And diagnosis is made by finding trophozoites or cysts or both in diarrheal stools. In asymptomatic carriers, only cysts are seen, But in patients who are infected with giardiasis, either trophozoites or cysts or both are seen. And after microscopy, we'll go for ELISA. That's enzyme-linked immunosorbent assay. This test is used to detect Giardia antigen in the stool and is very useful in the identification of the giardiasis. If these tests were negative, but the patient was having certain symptoms, then we'll go for string test, which consists of swallowing a weighted piece of string until it reaches the duodenum. That is useful. The trophozoites adhere to the string, and then these trophozoites can be visualized after the withdrawal of the string. And we'll visualize these trophozoites under the microscope. I've got a comment from Abdullahi Idris Ali. Hi, doctor. I guess that's doctor. Hello, how are you doing? Okay, so we are done with Giardia lamblia, its introduction, life cycle, morphology, pathogenesis, clinical findings, lab diagnosis, treatment, and prevention. So now you can ask me any questions about Giardia lamblia. My recent session was about Entamoeba histolytica, and upcoming session will be on Cryptosporidium hominis, inshallah, and I'll let you know prior to starting the session about the timings and the day of the session. We've got another comment. Abdullah Idris Ali is asking, can I get the PDF? Of course, you can get, send me a reminder on my email address. I'll write that for you in the comments, so you can easily send me a reminder. Here you go. Or if you do not get reply, send me on a reminder on my social media, especially Instagram or Twitter. So I've mentioned my Instagram handle in the comments for you. So if you want, you can connect with me there as well. Okay, so we've got a little time. If you've got any questions, ask me, I'll ask you a few questions and then we'll end the session. Okay, let me ask you a question. Tell me, what is a trophozoite apparatus that makes it motile in case of Giardia lamblia? Okay, tell me, in case of Entamoeba, that was pseudopods that helped Entamoeba histolytica to move. So what about Giardia lamblia? I'll give you some hints. Is it cilia or is it a flagella? You can answer me in the comments. Go ahead, answer the question, guys. I think nobody knows that because I've got no answer in the comments. Or maybe you guys are thinking or processing that in your mind, that what is the motility apparatus that helps Giardia lamblia to move? Okay, I'll tell you. That's flagella. Giardia lamblia has got 4 sets of flagella. Let me show you its picture so you guys can that. Here we go. This is Giardia lamblia. It has got 4 sets of flagella, one on top, one at the bottom, and 2 pairs in the center. So that's how Giardia lamblia moves. We've got a comment from Abdullahi Idris Ali. Repeat again. What are you asking? What should I repeat? Would you please write that in the comments? So I'll repeat it. Another question I'd like to ask from you guys is, explain string test quickly. That's really easy. We perform string test when all the other tests like microscopy, ELISA, fail to tell us about the infection, but the symptoms persist in a patient. So we then go for string test. So what is string test? I told you in the beginning of the session. Now it's your turn to answer. Come on, guys, go ahead, answer the question. We've got a comment from Abdiaziz Muallim. I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing your name correctly. He said, hi, hello, how are you doing? Then we've got another comment from Abdullahi Idris Ali. Can I get a virology lecture? Yep, very soon after the completion of bacteriology series, because currently I'm running 2 series on the channel. One is bacteriology and other one is mycology. If you haven't seen the mycology video, so just go and watch that on the channel. I'll try to complete them as soon as I can. And you guys didn't answer the question, what is the string test? Okay, let me tell you. String test is a test that is performed when all the other tests are negative in case of giardiasis, but the symptoms persist. This test consists of swallowing a piece of string that is a weighted piece of string, and it reaches the duodenum. And then what happens? The trophozoites present in the duodenum adhere to the string, and then these trophozoites can be visualized after the withdrawal of the string. This was string test. Quite easy, right? Okay, the last question that I'll ask you guys, and then I think we'll end the session because we're done with Giardia lamblia. Okay, let me Q&A slide. So it is easy for anybody who joins in the session knows that this is the Q&A time. Tell me how many nuclei a cyst has in case of Giardia lamblia. Is it 4? Is it 2? Is it 3? Or is it 1? Or there is no nucleus inside a cyst? What's the answer? Tell me in the comments, guys, so I can know how much knowledge you've gained from today's session. How useful was it for you? We've got an answer from Abdi Aziz Mualim, 8 nuclei. I'm sorry, no, that's not 8. Less than that. Oh, we've got another answer from Abdullahi Idris Ali, 4. Oh yeah, that's correct. Good. Okay, do you want me to ask more questions, or would you guys ask other questions and then we can end the session? Tell me in the comments. Okay, a bonus question from you guys, because I thought I would be asking just 3 or 4 questions in today's session. In last session, I asked a lot of questions. What are the symptoms of giardiasis? It has got very easy symptoms because it causes watery, foul-smelling, non-bloody diarrhea. So think about the symptoms that are related to the diarrhea. These are quite easy. Come on, guys, write in the comments. Okay, I'll tell you the symptoms if you are unable to answer the question. Symptoms are quite easy. Come on, tell me, answer the question. Okay, I think I am supposed to answer the question now. Symptoms are flatulence, abdominal cramps, nausea, anorexia. Oh, we've got a comment from Abdullahi Idris Ali. Abdominal pain, watery diarrhea. That's awesome. It means you've got some knowledge from today's video. It was helpful for you. That's great. I think that is it for today's session. If you guys have any questions after that session, you can ask me and it's reply to you, or if you want to connect with me on my social media, I've got my Instagram and Twitter, both with the handle medzukhruf. I've mentioned that in the comments. And I've got another comment from Abdi Aziz Muallim. Dysentery, yeah, that's great because Giardia lamblia causes dysentery. Awesome. And if you've got any question or you want PDFs or today's session, you can send me a reminder on the email address I've mentioned in the comments. So you can see if somebody joined in right now. So I'll mention the email address once again. So you can send me a reminder on that and I'll send you the PDFs of all these sessions if you want slides of the first introductory session or of the intermediate Entamoeba histolytica or Giardia lamblia. And anybody else who has a question, ask me in the comments. I'll end the session at 9:30 p.m. and it's 9:27 p.m. in my country at the moment. So we've got just 3 minutes and then I'll end the session. Okay, so in these 3 minutes, I can also ask you a question. Let me ask you, okay, during excitation, how many trophozoites are formed from one cyst? Tell me. 2, 3, 4, or 5? Tell me, guys. So we've got another comment from Abdullahi Idris Ali. Leishmania donovani, how cause hepatomegaly and splenomegaly? Well, that's a very good question. I'm going to have a session on Leishmania very soon, so stay tuned for that, or I do have a video on that on my channel. Browse the channel and you get the answer for it, because today's session was related to Giardia and the answer to that question is a bit long, so I don't want to take time for that. I'm sorry. I'll mention the link of that video for you in the comments. Abdi Aziz Molim is saying 2. That's great. 2 trophozoites are formed. Let me grab the link for Leishmania. For, what is your name? Abdullahi Idris. I'm looking for the video on Leishmania donovani. If you watch that video, all of your doubts will be cleared. Here we go with the parasitology. I've currently opened the channel and I'm searching the video for you. I've got 2 videos on Leishmania. I'll share links of both. So this is a link of the video and this is the link for the second Leishmania video. Here you go. I hope Abdullahi Idris Ali, these links will help you. Abdi Aziz Muallim is saying, thank you, doctor. That's great. You're welcome. You answered the question correctly. So it's 9:30. Thank you all for joining in. I really enjoyed doing this live session with you guys, and I hope you guys did too. And if you still have any questions, you can ask me in the comments or send me an email. I mentioned the email address in the comments. And at the end, I'd like to wish you all a very happy Ramadan. That was first day of Ramadan in my country. And I hope you guys are enjoying the Ramadan as well. And see you soon in the next sessions. I'll wait for a second. If somebody joined in right now and have a question, you can ask me. And then I'll do what? I'll end the session. I don't know, I'm slipping my tongue in today's session. Okay, if somebody joined in right now, the session was about Giardia lamblia, and I've asked questions from some students. They've answered correctly, and some of them asked questions from me and I answered them. And that is it. I'll see you in the next sessions, and you can send me the reminder for the PDFs you want and I'll send you straight. And I'll see you in the next sessions. Till then, Assalamualaikum. Bye-bye.